Thank you for joining XR Room, which is India's first AR/VR focused podcast. And today I'm delighted and honored to have with me Mr. Faisal Galaria, who's the CEO of Blippar, an augmented reality technology company. He has held senior roles at a number of leading digital businesses, including Spotify, Kayak.com, and Skype. So Faisal, it's a complete pleasure and honor to have you on the show. Really appreciate you taking time and being part of a humble podcast. So Blippar and Magic Leap have somehow shared similar experience or journey. Both of y'all have been pioneering companies, each trying to revolutionize augmented reality and mixed reality. Magic Leap was one of the early movers with mixed reality, got huge funding, but were unable to deliver. Things went wrong, but now they are seeing a resurgence of sort with the new CEO. And Blippar somehow has had the same journey. The CEO has been from India, he moved to UK and was one of the world's first augmented reality unicorn company. Then it collapsed into administration, filed for bankruptcy. So when you took over from Ambrish Mitra as the CEO, what has been the learnings and the no-goes? And what is it that you bring onto the board? And what is your vision or mission for Blippar's second coming?
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation, the opportunity to speak with you and your listeners. You're entirely right. Blippar has been a pioneer in augmented reality, and actually the team got started back in 2011. And the way that I think about that, Eddie, is back then the team was not only creating the technology, but it's almost like if it was a car, they created the engine, the seats, the roof, the exhaust system, but also they created the tires and the road and the bridge and the taxation system for the car as well. There was no ecosystem back in 2011 for augmented reality. It was too early. And so in many ways, the fact that they actually made 2.5G work on an iPhone 2, with all of the limitations that the processor on a smartphone had back then, with the bandwidth limitations, reflecting now on we're launching 5G, and back then we're on 2.5G. The fact that they even got it to work in the first place is a real testament to the ingenuity and how far ahead of the curve the team was back in 2011 to 2012. But as you said, it was too early. And part of what I've done since joining 3 years ago is really focus down the company on what we do now. So, but it also got into other adjacent spaces like visual search, deep learning, recognition, spatial listening, various types of machine learning. And what we've done since coming back is actually brought the company back to its provenance, back to its original capability, what we do better than anyone else, which is augmented reality. We're now a much leaner, focused team. Some of the other things that we've done, Eddie, is that the company was previously largely a B2C company, so we'd download an app in order to be able to experience the AR. We've now removed the friction and the requirement to download an app, but also pivoted the company so it's more of a B2B company. So to answer your point about what the difference is between what Blippar did historically and what we do now, we're a super lean AR content creation platform that allows anybody to publish into the internet and into the metaverse.
It's only the brave early movers know what it takes to build a company when the tech is in a nascent stage. And you guys were the front movers, the pioneers, and you guys were laying the building blocks of what the future of Metaverse is going to look like. We are today completely excited about this Metaverse. But I somehow feel that, we shouldn't do the same mistake that we did in early 2016, when the Oculus acquisition happened from Pamalaki, and then there was this huge rush of investors running in, pouring money into startups, and then realizing later that the tech is not ready. I think Metaverse is going to be so awesome once it all converges. And I believe that it's not going to be a tech layer. It's going to be the blockchain. It's going to be the convergence of NFT, your scanners, IoT, artificial intelligence, 5G, XR, and I think once it all converges together, we will have the building block of the metaverse, which is ready, which could be so seamless that could be having an economic layer of it, and it would be as seamless as the physical world. So I hope that we do not make the same mistakes that we have done. But I guess kudos to companies such as Blippar and Magically, because you guys have been taken the hit and braved it out, and so that others can build onto from where you are taken. Now COVID has so much cons. It has kind of disrupted, especially in India. It's been so terrible, but there's been so many positives of COVID. The environment is like really cleaned up, and suddenly I mean, over the years, everybody was talking about digitization, but then everybody was playing a wait and watch game. But suddenly now everybody has understood the importance of digitization. Every company now wants to be a digital company. So according to you, do you think COVID has accelerated digitization, XR, AR, VR, MR? What are your views on something like that? And do you feel that finally XR's time has come?
Having been around in the consumer technology space for the last 25 years, is I've never seen the acceleration of adoption of technology as fast as in the last two years during lockdown. So in many ways, people that would never have used technology are now using technology, and we're using it for many different things. Prior to lockdown, people used to talk about digital transformation and how did businesses become more digital. I honestly think that if those discussions are now behind us, and if you don't already have a digital transformation agenda, you're already behind the curve. And what's really important now is how do companies exploit all of the ability that digital has, whether that's data or analytics, to be able to take the next step. And part of that is, you mentioned before, is the metaverse, the conversion of many technologies, and I think you're entirely right. Then you mentioned, is it finally, after 2011 and being, companies, like Blippar being in this space for the last 10 years, is it finally time for augmented reality? And I would, right, because that's why I joined the company as CEO 2.5 years ago. That the time is right. Let me tell you why I think that. I've been very lucky to be part of some very extraordinary breakthrough companies like Skype and like Spotify that were really products of their time. And what I mean by that is the ecosystem has to be ready in order for any breakthrough company or technology, because no company breaks through on its own. So in terms of, if you look at Skype, it required peer-to-peer technology. It required broadband technology. It required voice and video codecs and compression technologies. And all of those were coming together in the early 2000s, which allowed Skype to proliferate. But it needed all of those things. Then again, 10 years later, if you look at early Spotify, there was music streaming before Blippar, and Napster is perhaps the best known example. So why did Spotify succeed? Again, 3G was being rolled out, smartphones were being rolled out, Music compression was becoming widely available when it's distributed. The iPod and the smartphones were being rolled out, and Facebook was pushing virality and social media, and people were able to share what music they were listening to. And all of those things in their entirety allowed Spotify to grow. So now I look back, at Blippar and the XR industry, and we're lucky to be, here at this time when 5G promises 100 times the bandwidth, 10 times less latency than 4G. Where every smartphone, almost every smartphone sold, and 4 billion smartphones in the world now have the AR tech stack natively built in, whether that's AR Kit or AR Core. And finally, we're starting to see companies like Facebook and Snap produce these devices. And over the next 2 or 3 years, I'm pretty sure these are going to become mass market devices. But this is happening now. So of course, the same things are happening that I saw at Skype and Spotify, in that you have the ecosystem is now ready in a way that it wasn't even 2 or 3 years ago. That we're now primed and ready. And history teaches us that when you have all the conditions are ready and the investment is going in, it's a time for companies like Blippar to break out. This team that I was so privileged to join had done over 20,000 AR experiences in its 10 years. So there isn't a category or a vertical that they haven't touched. So we're looking forward to everyone catching up and actually being able to now unleash the full capability and know-how of Blippar.
Lovely. Yeah, I hope everyone catches up, because this technology has got so much potential. The first time when I heard about Blippar was in 2016. I was at a conference here in Bombay, and Arnav, who was the ex-managing director of Blippar, he was doing a presentation talk, and I was so blown that through the phone you could augment things, and this was back in 2016. I remember there was a beauty product, I think, and the ladies, your lips color, the lipstick shade and stuff could be augmented, and there was some great demos. So yes, I think we are in an exciting space from 2016 till 2021. Things have really moved. Technology is accelerated, and the convergence of technology is gonna give real world value. And obviously you mentioned that the ecosystem is growing, and I guess that's the reason there's some insane investment going on in the space. Facebook announced a $10 billion investment in building the metaverse. Epic has $1 billion investment. Gemini, the Winklevoss brothers, are investing another $400 million in the metaverse, building the way to. Roblox is investing a lot of money in, and there are so many other startups around the world. Here in India, there's a company called Jio. It's the largest telecom company. They're building their own AR glasses, and it's not just the big companies. I think there are some amazing startups, not just abroad. I mean, I'm not going to take the names of the big ones, but there are some fantastic startups here in India who are building great products, great at HMDs, from augmented reality to virtual reality glasses. And I guess in another few years, we'll start seeing these products, in the hands of consumers or enterprise. And Apple is getting into the fray. So it's an exciting space. So now everybody is jumping and investing in what the metaverse is. So for my audience who don't really know what metaverse is, because everybody's got their own definition, would you like to explain what metaverse is and what is Blippar's plan for the metaverse?
You're entirely right, Eddie. Everybody you ask has a different definition of what the metaverse is. But from our perspective at Blippar, what we think about is imagine that in order to consume AR, that you're not using a phone anymore. And in fact, the world that you see around you is completely interactive and persistent, so that the things that you see, whether it's a work environment like this, or whether it's entertainment environment and you're watching a movie with your friends. It persists, and it's all around. But what I've just described, which could exist in virtual reality, but makes it the metaverse, is imagine you started that experience online somewhere on the internet, but that you then decide to buy a video, for example, or a film on Netflix, and then you went to watch that with your friends in Fortnite or in Roblox. If you're able to buy the movie from Netflix and then invite your friends and watch that, some of your friends are in Fortnite and some are in Roblox. That's the metaverse. It's the ability for different verses to combine, and that the thing that you bought, for example, the film, Netflix film, is able to be consumed equally easily in any different environment. So we've still got some work to do when we're nowhere near that kind of the metaverse that I've described. But if that's possible, then I think we've got something approaching what I would regard as a metaverse.
Lovely. Yeah, I think it's going to be so interesting because currently most of the largest tech firms or the institutions runs in an extremely siloed manner. There is no coexistence, or there is no interoperability. In the future, if, like you mentioned, we could create the metaverse which is interoperable, and with taking the centralized nature of all our businesses out and bring decentralization over there, I think we'll be able to upend everything, your businesses and how we communicate, how we educate ourselves. Because just yesterday I was having a conversation with this startup from India, and they be building an educational app, and they want to democratize education. They want to bring a standard, because I think globally the problem with education or healthcare is that there is no standardization. It's all like, if you're a privileged person or urban dweller who's got funds, you can access education. But if you don't have the privilege, you're residing in a rural area, you can't access a quality education. But these guys are trying to standardize and democratize education. So yes, I mean, once we lay down the foundations of the metaverse and bring an interoperability over there, I think the future is going to look really fantastic. In fact, there's this school in Kerala. They leveraged augmented reality to for education continuity in the peak of the pandemic, and they had leveraged a free augmented reality app, and the teachers were leveraging it. So I think we're getting into a fantastic world, and these tools can in the future possibly democratize education and healthcare, and bring some kind of a standardization, so that we have the same kind of education and healthcare facilities. No matter where you're sitting, whether you're sitting in the rural area, where you're sitting in Jamaica, you're sitting in Bombay, or you're sitting in Silicon Valley, you'll be able to access the same kind of healthcare or education facility. And I hope that happens, because I think the world will become such a better place once we lay down the foundations of the metaverse and bring an interoperability over there. I think the future is going to look really fantastic. You were mentioned about your Blippar WebAR SDK, and would you like to talk about your products, suits, what you're offering?
Absolutely. We've got three main routes to market. The first one is Blippbuilder that I mentioned, which is our no-code platform, which everybody can use. You don't need to be a developer or a creative, but have lots of experience. It's a no-code platform that's drag and drop tools, and you can use that to build AR experiences, and it's a build once, publish everywhere capabilities. And very interestingly, last week we also announced that that's available with SLAM, which is simultaneous localization and mapping. And what that does is that it means that we at Blippar, the technology, takes care of the physics behind, so you don't have to worry about where things appear. we understand, we map the environment. So if in this case, we would map the room, understand where the ceilings, the walls are on the floor. So if it was a car appearing here and we wanted to put a car in the room, it wouldn't float in midair. It would understand the physics of the real world, put the car on the floor and stay on the floor. And we're able to track, so as you move your phone, actually you'll be able to go closer to the car and then move away from the car, as you would if you walked close to the car and then walked away. So it understands and it emulates the physics of the real world. And it's the first platform, the first drag and drop platform, no-code platform to include SLAM capabilities. We're really proud of that. There's a professional tool as well that you mentioned, the WebAR SDK, which is a professional tool set for developers and creatives inside of agencies, brands, and systems integrators. And what that allows is full scripting ability. So it's everything that Blippbuilder is in terms of the drag and drop capability, but it allows massively immersive content creation capability. You can build if you can imagine it, you can build it in using the WebAR SDK. It's being used by thousands of creators around the world, mostly experienced developers and creators. And it really looks a little bit like some of the gaming content creation tools, whether that's Unreal Engine or Unity. But in this case, it's stripped down to focus exclusively on AR content creation. And then the final route to market is, in some cases, agencies, brands, and systems integrators, when they're building campaigns, and that could be for healthcare, it could be for architecture, it could be for education and training, it could be for e-commerce or advertising. They'll come to us directly and say, look, we know you've got a tool set, but we want something building that leverages the experience that your team has of doing this 20,000 times. So can you build it for us? So we have a studio capability. Actually, most of our studio and actually all of our engineering team is based in India, in Bangalore. So we like to think of ourselves as being at least half Indian as well. We're based in Bangalore, and we use, the team is Extremeworks, so they're very, very high quality creative team that built some of the world's best animation, and now some of the world's best augmented reality experiences. And we build that as a managed service from strategy and creative right the way through to building and delivering the experience on whichever platform. It could be on Snap, TikTok, Facebook, whatever platform you want. And then we provide all of the data and analytics to clients in order to be able to track the engagement, and we provide data like device types, city, where the experience is being consumed, where in the experience people are spending their time. So we provide a lot of data and analytics on the back end. And those are the three big routes to market.
Do you see that maybe in the near future, everything will move towards there, like a no-code, low-code thing? Because there is a huge number of content creators, not just in India, but around the world, but they have all been traditional, and coding is something that becomes Greek to them. So is that where the future is going? First question. And second question is brand engagement. Where do you think is going? Because there's some crazy things which is happening. What do you think the future of brand engagement is going to look like?
Like we see now in video content creation, which I think is a good analogy, is a good shows the way in forward for augmented reality in many ways. When editing became so easy that everybody could do it and children can do it, it's allowed the explosion of platforms like Snap and TikTok. And what we're trying to do is make AR content creation so easy that actually children can do it as well. And children are the early adopters of all technologies. And when they can build AR, and then they can publish it to all the spaces where they interact with each other. And when they find utility in that, then we'll see the AR space kick off. And so that's what we're trying to do, make AR content creation super easy. And I want my 6-year-old son to be creating AR content himself on the platform.
Would you like to share some use cases, which has been built leveraging Blippar, because there are so many advertising agencies, brands over here who don't really know how they can leverage this new tool. So would you like to shine light over there?
Of course. Well, the one that I'm really proud of, and actually it's because it was such a big success in India, was last year was the launch of the Nord One Plus. We're thinking about how to launch the Nord phone, their latest phone, during a lockdown. So they said, look, we're launching the Nord. It's a 5G capable phone. It's got the AR capability built in, like every smartphone. Can we actually take the stage and the CEO and that experience, and rather than the journalists coming to us, can we go to the journalists? And we said, so you want to do a AR experience for 500 journalists where the stage appears on their desk or on their kitchen or on their floor in their home, and you want the CEO to do that same thing there? And they said, that's what we want to do. We said, yeah, we can do that. How long? AR experiences are generally 3 or 4 minutes. So that's what you want to do? They said, no. Our experience is a extravaganza. It's music and the different people speaking and screens, and we have to build the excitement. It has to be half an hour. He said, how do you half an hour AR experience? That's never been done before. And this is a product launch as well. They said, but that's what we want to do. We want to replicate the experience that the journalists would have had. They don't come to Shenzhen for 3 or 4 minute experience. We want to do the full experience in AR. So we set about building it, OnePlus are really demanding clients, and so a few weeks after we started, they said, we have these forums. They've all heard about this live experience for the journalists, and our fans now want to join the experience. That won't be a problem, will it? And we said, no. How many fans do you want to invite? And they said, maybe 1,000, 500 journalists, 1,000 fans. We enabled that. And then what we found was that the invites started to get traded on eBay and on Amazon. Not for very much money, but they're being traded, and that showed there was demand. They said, can you up it to 5,000? 5,000 participants. There are more fans that want to join. So, okay, no problems. It's more bandwidth, but we'll make it work. Eventually, on the day, which was in July of last year, 627,000 people tuned in for a live broadcast, an augmented reality broadcast, where the CEO, Carl Hay, announced the new phone and showed the phone break up into thousands of pieces and come back together, and the whole stage and music and television screens, and everything that you would have expected on stage was shared by not only the journalists, but over 600,000 fans as well. Now, what was really exciting, of course, was that was live. So it's not like a TV broadcast where everybody sees the same thing. This is in augmented reality. So you and I, and then everybody else would have seen a bespoke augmented reality presentation that was one-to-one. So if you have a big kitchen table, you'd have seen it scale to your big kitchen table. But if you're in your desk, in the office or your cabin, you have a small space, it would have dimensioned itself to that space. And what's more, so in the week after the broadcast, it was seen 7 million times.
Wow.
And for OnePlus, it became their biggest selling phone ever. It sold out in France, Finland, Germany, Italy. And in India, Amazon says it was their most successful product launch of any product category ever. So we're really proud of that one, which is an e-commerce example. But Eddie, AR is becoming pervasive and used for everything, whether it's for medicine, and we're able to understand where the user is. So if the user happens to be in, let's say, in Gujarat, and they have their instructions, we can understand from the latitude and longitude that they're in Gujarat. So when you open your instructions, we can actually show you how to use that medicine in your local language. And if you're in Spain, it would be in Spanish. And you could see the instructions of how to take the medicine, and we'll show it to you, whether it's an injection or an inhaler, or especially for people that that struggle with reading, being able to show you how to use something like a medicine is really important. It's being used in entertainment, it's being used in many spaces, and our job is to create a platform for content creation, and the creators and developers will create the use cases for the technology. That's really exciting to see how this technology is getting used and all the different ways it's being used.
All the technologies are becoming tools and adding so much utility for us. And I think we need these brave brands, such as OnePlus, who took the decision and pushed you to create things, go beyond. And I guess once you do that, I think we will create more technology which will really add, real world value and accelerate this technology. And I'm super excited for all of these technology, because somehow from my perspective, I'm seeing that, almost geography is becoming history, because, you no longer need to be confined to a location. You could be sitting anywhere, and with leveraging these tools, you could create businesses and solutions. Lovely. Faisal, thank you for taking time and being part of the podcast. And I really hope that we get to the future where we have an open internet, because when Sir Tim Berners-Lee created the platform, his vision was to have a decentralized platform. But now we've got paywalls and walled garden everywhere. My last question to you. Think that you were sitting in 2031, just be a little bit crazy and speculative. What do you think AR, VR, MR is gonna look like? Go bold, go way out.
Well, look, I let me rip on a theme that you brought up, Eddie. I'm a big advocate for decentralization. I was, as I said, Skype was built on the peer-to-peer network, and Spotify got its genesis on the peer-to-peer network, where I'm lucky to be on the board of Crypto One, which is a cryptocurrency platform. And so I'm a big believer in decentralization. And what we're seeing at the moment in the XR space is a number of companies that are trying to control the metaverse and to the extent that XR is part of it, but trying to create systems where they control all the data, the privacy, and the whole of what will be the next generation of the internet, which is the metaverse. If you believe in that, as I do, in a decentralized environment, that's not the environment that I envisage. I think it requires thousands and thousands of creators and developers to create the metaverse, in the same way as it's taken millions of creators to create the internet. And so I'm looking forward to the technologies that we're creating today, to allowing everyone to participate in a decentralized metaverse, where we're all creators, we're all beneficiaries, we're all contributing but receiving, and then not being controlled by any one particular overlord.
Lovely. Faisal, what a beautiful vision, because I guess it starts with the vision, and I think if everybody acknowledges and understand that what we have done with the internet is wrong, and what we could do with Web 3.0 is that beautiful world, because we're building the metaverse, which I think maybe in the next couple of decades, I don't want to put timelines, we could be creating a beautiful world where our kids could do anything, be anything. It wouldn't matter if you're sitting in Bombay or Jamaica or Silicon Valley. We could all reach out to each other, learn from each other, leverage each other's knowledge, create products and services and solutions, and create businesses and knowledge which creates a better world, because there's so much wrongs that we have done, with our current business model of profit at any cost, or business as usual, or capitalistic nature, where we are all running blindlessly towards nowhere. It's about time, I think, we relook at the wrongs, and at least the metaverse that we're building, we try and build something where we all would love to be in, which would be open and fair for all. And I hope that vision comes true. Thank you, Faisal, for being part of the podcast and sharing your insight. Wish you and the team the very best. And to my listeners, if you like what you see in here, then please press the subscribe button. And until next time, see you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you. Really appreciate this.